We're very excited this week to be joined by Republican candidate for governor and former Navy SEAL Eric Greitens. Sir, welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics.
Great to be on with you, Scott. Thanks for having me.
I want to start, you have a very different background than most folks running for governor. Give us a little insight into your background and how it brought you to today.
Sure. So I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm a businessman. I'm a conservative outsider. I'm also a very proud husband and father. As a Navy SEAL, I did 4 deployments in the global war on terrorism. I served in Afghanistan in 2003, Southeast Asia in 2004. I was in the Horn of Africa in 2005. And I was in Iraq in 2006, 2007. Now, when I was in Iraq, I was serving as the commander of an al-Qaeda targeting cell. So, Scott, my unit's job was to capture mid to senior level al-Qaeda leaders in and around the city of Fallujah, Iraq. March 28, 2007, we'd been on an operation till about 2 or 3 o'clock that morning. And at 6 o'clock that morning, we came under what we call a complex attack. Mortar rounds came in, small arms fire, and then my team was hit by a suicide truck bomb. Now, I was very fortunate. I was taken to the Fallujah Surgical Hospital. I was treated there. I was able to return to full duty 72 hours later. But a lot of my friends were hurt far worse than I was. And when I came home, I went to Bethesda to the Naval Hospital to visit with them. I know you've done this. You walk into one of those hospital rooms and you're talking with very young men and women, 19, 20, 21 years old. And I asked all of them, I said, hey, tell me, what do you want to do when you recover? And they all said to me, I want to return to my unit. These men and women were still what they had always been. They were fighters, right, who'd taken on al-Qaeda, who'd volunteered for our hardest and most dangerous missions. But what I saw, Scott, is that when they came home, many of them were being broken and mistreated by their own government. You know, the VA is now one of the largest bureaucracies in the country. We spent over $160 billion on it last year. It has over 325,000 full-time employees. And what the VA was saying to my friends...
Was it the medical care, or was it helping them transition into a different life?
It's helping them to transition into a different life. And it's a great question, because a lot of times the medical care in the Department of Defense, when they first come back and they're in the Department of Defense, that medical care was still really good. As they transfer into the VA system and they're handed off to this government bureaucracy, what happens is that the VA will say, they'll say, Scott, if you are 60% disabled, they'll say, we will pay you as if you're 100% disabled as long as you don't work.
And it sounds like there's some good intention there, but the outcome isn't optimum.
The incentives are all aligned in the wrong direction. So that what happens is you get once really proud and productive people, and they're handed disability money and drugs and excuses, and they're told to accept the fact that they should think of themselves as disabled and a burden for the rest of their lives.
So your work with those veterans seems very rewarding.
Yeah.
Why are you running for governor?
So I'm running for governor because I love this state. You know, I was born and raised here. I grew up in Missouri, and when I grew up here, I was proud to be from Missouri. So it was where great exploration started, where great missions were begun, right? And we had Fortune 500 companies, we had strong entrepreneurs, we had great communities rooted in clear values, and I got a great education from some excellent coaches and teachers and mentors.
Here in Missouri?
Right here in Missouri.
Where from?
So right from St. Louis, outside of St. Louis, Parkway North High School is where I went. Great education, and what happened was, I think we've all seen over the course of the last generation that career politicians, special interest insiders, well-paid lobbyists, corrupt consultants have been running this state into the ground. Over the course of the last decade, Missouri is 47th in GDP growth. We're 42nd in job growth, 43rd in wage growth. Right now in our public schools, only 1 in 4 of our 4th graders are reading at grade level. But I know, Scott, I know that with conservative leadership, we can turn Missouri around. And we can build a Missouri that I'm proud to pass on to my son.
Well, let's talk about the issues that...
Yes.
This may be the only show where we drilled in on these 3 topics.
Absolutely.
But let's talk 3 Republican red meat issues, gun tax and abortion. Where are you on the issue of the pro-life movement?
So I'm pro-life, and I'm strongly pro-life. I believe that we have to promote life. I believe that we have to defend life. I also believe, Scott, that in a free society, no person should have their tax money taken from them and spent on organizations like Planned Parenthood, that you saw the videos, Sheena and I saw the videos. The activities that they engage in are barbaric.
And that includes down to stem cell research.
Yes, and I'm pro-life. I'm opposed to embryonic stem cell research. I think that we need to engage in research that will make sure that we develop life-saving cures for all of these problems and diseases that are affecting all of our friends, neighbors, and families. But I'm opposed to embryonic stem cell research that would actually destroy life.
Let's talk guns. You've shot bigger guns than most people have seen.
Yes.
Walk us, in a society, though, there is a point where where it makes sense to have some guns limited from general public ownership. Where's that line at to you?
Yeah, so for me, it's important. I am a Navy SEAL, and I'm also a lifetime member of the NRA. And I believe that it's very important that law-abiding citizens they do have the right to keep and bear arms. And we need to protect that right here in Missouri and around the country.
So you're for pushing that line way liberally as far as what firearms are included and should be owned by a private citizen.
Yeah, I think that private citizens have the right to keep and to bear arms. And I think that, we have laws on the books that need to be enforced.
Let's talk about taxes. Now,
yes.
I hear a lot of folks talk about cutting taxes. They don't talk so much about cutting government. I'm just a simple hillbilly from West Butler County. But I just don't think a guy gets his paycheck on Friday and says, I didn't send enough money to Jeff City. All these wonderful things they're doing for me, I didn't get him enough money.
Yes.
Would you cut taxes under your administration?
Yeah.
Will taxes be lower on Missourians?
Yeah. Yes, we want to reduce taxes on working families. And what we have to do in Missouri is we got to recognize the problem. And in Missouri, we've got two big problems. First is the tax code is rigged for special interest insiders. All of the tax credits that are given away, the money that's given away, the Nixon administration can't not even account for how much money is given away in special interest tax credit programs. So one of the first things that we have to do is to reform the tax code to make sure that it is clear so that people understand it, so that it actually works for working families and for people who are running businesses. The second problem...
But all that does is add more money to those tax credit programs were signed into law by President Reagan and Governor John Ashcroft. They actually keep money out of government. Every dollar that goes to a tax credit doesn't go to some cubicle for people to harass business owners. Can you look people in the eye and say your service to the state's no longer needed? We just can't afford you.
Well, one of the things that we have to do, first of all, in Missouri, and this gets to exactly the second problem, is that in Missouri we've got a $26.9 billion budget, and when you look through that budget, Scott, there are no metrics. There is no way for the people of Missouri to tell if the money that they spend, if their tax money, actually leads to result. Now, conservative governors who've come in from the outside have been able to change this. I believe in results. I believe in accountability. Everything that I've done in my life as a leader, at the Mission Continues, running my own business, being a Navy SEAL, you held yourself accountable for results. And I believe that we should have a government where every agency of government should have a clear mission, and every line item in the budget should have a metric so that we can determine whether or not we actually created results for people. And just one more thing on this. We have to recognize this isn't something that's abstract, Scott. Right? Sometimes politicians talk about this and they talk about taxes and this and the budget. This affects real people. Right? In Missouri, we have 12,000 kids in the foster care system. Those kids deserve a government that is held accountable for the results that we create.
Sure.
Working families deserve to have a government that is held accountable. Politicians, career politicians, they often don't recognize that the things that they do can hurt real people. I've spent my life solving problems, helping people, serving people, and that's what the kind of ethic that we need to bring back to Jeff.
Let's talk about some of your career dealing in and around politics.
Sure.
You wrote an editorial. You were a Democrat.
Yes.
Walk us through that transition.
Sure. So I grew up, I was born and raised a Democrat. I grew up right here in Missouri, and I grew up believing that Harry Truman was the greatest president who we'd ever had. And I loved when John F. Kennedy said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Mm-hmm. But over the course of my life, running my own business, seeing the way that the government bureaucracy was breaking my friends, shattering strong families, serving as a United States Navy SEAL, I became a conservative. And I'm a conservative who believes in the free enterprise system, who believes in limited government, who, as we talked about, supports the Second Amendment, is pro-life.
You say these things passionately.
Yes.
You, a conservative outsider is the tagline. It's been a very effective one you've put on you.
Yes.
There was talk. You heard Barack Obama's nominating speech in Denver. You were in the crowd.
Yes.
Is that where that began?
Well, I was invited to Denver, and I went to Denver, and I listened. Just like when President Bush invited me to his farewell address, I went to his farewell address. Is that what
made you a conservative? I would think if it didn't before, it would have
been.
No,
actually, no. I'd been a conservative for a long time before that, but I do think it's important to listen to people. And I'm always willing to listen to people, but I'm a conservative outsider who's lived a life. I'm the only candidate in this race who's actually built an organization that solves tough problems. It's rooted in a conservative philosophy.
So folks have sought you to run for office before.
Yes.
They sought you out to run for Congress, a Democrat, whoever the establishment Democrat would be.
Yeah.
We talk about these issues, make a very compelling case. Were you the same pro-gun, pro-life, anti-Obamacare government guy when they were recruiting you then as you are today?
Yes. And when they asked me to run, I told them no. And I told them no because I'm a Republican and a conservative.
And so I guess the question I would have is on an issue like life.
Yes.
They were recruiting a pro-lifer at Greitens then, and that's part of the reason you didn't run.
They were recruiting me because of what I'd done. They were recruiting me because I was a Navy SEAL, because I'd served in Iraq, because I'd served in Southeast Asia, because I served in the Horn of Africa. And they came back and they asked me to run, and I told them no, I'm a Republican and a conservative.
So that takes us to this race you're actually in.
Yes.
Fundraising seems to be going well. You in the first quarter you were in the race, leapt to the front of the fundraising line.
Yeah.
That seems like you've got a base that's going to continue on. How is the fundraising going? Excuse me, and will you see is the grassroots matching the fundraising success?
Yeah. The fundraising is going great, but it's a manifestation of what's happening on the ground. Right? So on the ground, Scott, after we announced 2.5 weeks ago, we traveled to every corner of the state of Missouri. And the people who came out to support us, Iraq and Afghanistan veterans, business owners, doctors, nurses, police officers, grandparents, high school students, these were a lot of people who had never been involved in politics before, who came in because they know that we need strong conservative leadership to turn Missouri around. So yes, I'm very pleased with our fundraising. We're grateful to every single one of our supporters. We're also extraordinarily happy with the volunteers who are coming on board on this campaign, who are signing up right now, who are saying that we need to have strong, proven leadership to turn Missouri around.
Eric Greitens, thanks so much for coming on, and we'll hopefully see you again as the campaign unfolds.
Absolutely. All right, thanks
for being
Scott.
here.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.